Oh, hey everyone. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Ellen, Nicole, Zoe, Julie, Gail, Joanne, Wade. Do we have Wade and Jenny?
Welcome in, everyone.
Wade and Jenny!
All right, so there's going to be some more people filing in for the virtual gathering, but just to keep the hour tight, I think we'll sort of get started and introduce the gathering. So welcome to Mindful Poetry Moments 2024. This is our third virtual gathering of National Poetry Month, and this is the 50th year of Mindful Poetry, so this is our 50th anniversary. Just in terms of the structure of this whole session, if you haven't been, although we have a lot of regulars joining us today, in each session we meditate under the guidance of a mindfulness facilitator, this week being Morley, and we consider a single poem, with this week's poem being Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. We then received a prompt from our poetry facilitator, Haleh Liza Gafori, and write for a few minutes and share with the group until the end of the session. And then, I'll end the session with a couple reminders, and we'll have one final reading of the poem. So, one thing to note up top, we're recording this session, so if you would like to edit out anything you're saying out of the session, just send us an email and we can do that. We'll post the recorded version of the session on YouTube after. I think without further ado, we'll introduce Morley and then sort of slide into our meditation. So Morley is a singer, producer, composer, and educator who weaves the threads of jazz, soul, and folk traditions into a single tapestry of vocal and acoustic splendor. The sound wave, or a life lived with uncommon devotion to human rights and environmental justice. To date, Morley has released 7 albums and spearheaded the successful fundraiser of Borderless Lullabies that continues to be a source of revenue for the pro bono legal defense fund Kind, to aid reuniting children with their family after being separated by ICE. She recently released a globally conscious children and family album, Story of the Sky, with her husband Chris Bruce under the name The Bruces. So, without further ado, Morley, we will transition to you.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be together today. Thank you, Haleh, for the invitation. Such an honor. So I thought we have about 5 minutes with me, and I thought we could just dive in to some spaciousness, some gentleness, and calm, bringing warmth and calm into the home of this body. And yeah, we can start by sitting up in a comfortable position, or if you're lying down, just make sure that you feel safe, secure in your position if you're seated or lying down. See if you can put a pillow underneath you if you're sitting up to support your back. And if you have your feet on the floor, if you're sitting up, feel your feet secure and resting on the ground. And if you're sitting with your legs crossed, let yourself feel supported with a pillow underneath you. And if you're sitting up, maybe put a pillow in your lower back too, if you have that. Great. So let's bring our palms together, and let's just start by rubbing the palms and bringing some warmth to the home of the body. And notice if the breathing is short or deep. And begin to slow down the palms rubbing together, and just feel them, feel that warmth of them touching, and then gently separate them on an inhalation. And on an exhalation, bring them closer to each other. Let's do that 3 more times. Breathe in, open the palms. Exhale, soften and bring the palms together. Inhale, expand the ribs, expand the back, separating the palms. Exhale, bring them close together. You might start to feel a little bit of a hole of energy between the hands. Inhale and open them one more time. And exhale, bring them back together. Beautiful. And now let's bring them to face the eyes. Maybe you've been looking at your phone or your computer. If you have glasses on, feel free to take them off and just let your palms rest a little bit in front of your eyes and feel that warmth. And now bring them to the ears and pull the palms away a little bit, bringing that movement of energy. I also call this sort of pulling chi, an abbreviated version of that. And let's bring the palms in front of the chest, in front of the heart, and see if you can feel that warmth from your palms radiating towards your chest, towards your heart. And let's gently rest the hands on the chest and feel that warmth. Beautiful. And let's slide the right hand down to the belly and keep the left hand on the heart. So right hand is on the belly, left hand is on the heart. And let's slow the breathing down together even more. Exhale completely out of the nose. And then inhale, feel your belly rise. The ribs and chest and back expand. Exhale, let the belly soften. And the heart soften, chest relaxed. Inhale, belly rises. Ribs and chest and back expand. This is how we're breathing when we're sleeping. Exhale, soft belly, soft heart. The shoulders are water. Breathing in, belly rises. Ribs and chest and back expand with the breath of life. Beautiful. Exhale, soft belly. Soft chest. Soft heart. Inhale, belly rises. Expand, ribs, back. Exhale, soft belly. And soft heart. The shoulders are water. Let's continue breathing like this together, feeling the warmth of the palms resting on the belly and the chest. And every exhalation, let the body soften. Let the shoulders be more like water. Notice if you're holding your eyes or jaw, tongue, and allow yourself to relax the eyes, jaw, and tongue. As we breathe in, we create more space, expansiveness. As we exhale, we soften and bring more calm. As we inhale, we create more space, a feeling of safety, creativity, wonder. Exhale, surrender into this mystery, where the creativity comes from. Exhale, relax. Inhale, expand the belly, ribs, chest, back. Exhale, soft belly and soft heart. 3 more breaths like this. Inhale, expand. Exhale, soften. Inhale, expand. Exhale, soften. Slide the right hand to the left hand so both hands are over the heart. Inhale, expand. Bringing this beautiful, loving energy into the body. Exhale, soften. Breathing in this spaciousness, this kindness. Exhale, this patience, forgiveness, love, and wonder. And let's slowly bring the palms up and out. And maybe rub your face a little bit. You can tap the sides of the face. And then the chest. And then take a deep breath and exhale and slowly bring yourself back into the Zoom room. Slowly open your eyes and greet. And let's join our beautiful Haleh, our facilitator, my dear friend. We are connected in the sacred frequency of creativity, of music, of poetry, and a friendship. And I hand it to you, dear Haleh. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Morley. That was a beautiful meditation. I love the water shoulders. Beautiful. Yeah, keep it loose. Keep it loose. So, hi, everybody. I'm so glad we're all here together. We're going to start with reading the poem. We have Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden today. Bryce, can you put the poem up? Okay. Great. Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. Sundays too. My father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made banked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? So I very much love this poem. It's an amazingly succinct and compact poem that I think says so much. It's like a short story, or even maybe even a novel inside of here in some way. The first thing that I felt upon reading it was the sense of understanding and revelation that comes with age. And we can look back at our parents and say, well, you know, they didn't perhaps show me the love or show me the love, the way that I wanted to be shown love, the way that I would have understood love. But he was there, right? This parent was there for the child. He was doing the actions that it takes, his love language. I love the idea of love languages, that they say there are 5 love languages: action, physical touch, words, quality time, and gifts. And it seems that people will be sort of more expressive in one language or another, it seems. Some people express their love through words. Some people express their love through quiet actions. And parents, you know, having so many responsibilities to keep the house going, to keep the food on the table, to keep the house warm, making sure the kid has his nice clothes for Sunday, his polished shoes, and so on. These are all actions that perhaps a child doesn't really notice. Children don't necessarily notice the practical actions that are happening, that are supporting, and they oftentimes, you know, they sense the tension or the love, whether it's, you know, or the feeling state in the house. For instance, here it's a bit tension because he says the chronic angers. So the child has this fear of the chronic angers, the tension that's in the house. And speaks indifferently to the father, doesn't thank him. No one thanks him because no one's sort of really noticing what kind of, actual love he is expressing and concern and care through these important and very practical actions. And there is a bit of poverty in the background. We can see that he's working every day, labor in the weekday weather. I mean, it seems that there may be, not necessarily, but there could be. But in that case too, it makes it even more challenging sometimes to put aside the practical actions of making a living and getting the house in order, to wrap your arms around a child. That's not necessarily true. I mean, some people are great at doing it all, but we can see that then he comes back, as an older man, and looks back on his life, on his childhood, and he says, what did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? And again, that word offices, that brings us to the notion of work and action, and that, the love was alive in that realm. And I think there's just a lot of love and forgiveness in this poem, and an awareness of sort of how love is expressed in different ways, and how we might not sense it at a certain time, but we look back forgivingly and say, oh, wow, it was really there. So there's a gratitude in the poem, I think. I also like the sounds, the blue-black cold and the cracked hands that ached. These repetitious sounds, and the banked fires, and thanked. There's all the k, the cold, splintering, breaking, chronic, that side of like threading through the poem. Yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone wants to pipe in with a thought on the poem that they want to share. Happy to hear. Yeah, the winter's crackling also. I just saw that in the chat.
I see Francine, you have your hand raised. Would you like to share?
Yes. So, I notice we're in spring, but we're observing a winter poem. And we're coming up on the ritual of Mother's Day and Father's Day. And I remember somebody in the community who said, well, every day is Mother's Day, every day is Father's Day. So they don't observe those rituals because he said every day is Mother's Day and every day is Father's Day. So I see rituals here, getting up early in the morning. Even though it's something you have to do, it becomes a ritual if you have to do it over and over again. And there's some sense of a strong survival. You have a father getting the house ready for a child. And I think I learned survival was just something you did. It doesn't mean love. So I think this poem brings out, yes, survival can be love. And that, but I also toward the end, I feel a sadness that there's some kind of regret. But how can a child really know all these things at the time? But he's writing it as an adult, so he knows now. So it just kind of puts a big question. What happened between the childhood and the adulthood? Was there recognition of the father, or did this kind of get like entrenched? And then now just writing this poem, maybe he's realizing how much he could have thanked his father, and we don't know if his father is alive or living. So there's some big questions there. I mean, alive or deceased, that's what I meant. Alive or living, that's the same thing.
Thank you, Francine. Does anyone want to share? Anyone else want to share a thought?
Can you tell her about Ellen?
Ellen, yeah, would you like to share?
Sure, thank you. I really appreciate what everyone said so already. I just really admire how this poem captures in such an understated way, you know, the complexity of family life and, you know, if you will, relationships as well. I mean, it's not just this, you know, ode to, you know, what the father did, you know, in a positive way looking back, but there's also like just this really brief mention of the chronic angers of the house. And, you know, like I think like Haleh said in the very beginning, it just does such a brilliant job of representing kind of the layers, you know, as an adult looking back, the layers that we become aware of. You know, it's like a both and thing. You know, these things can both be true. You know, there can be anger in a house and there can also be love. It's just a really brilliant portrait of a family. That's all I wanted to share.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, indeed. There are so many layers there with such few words. And there's some thoughts in the chat. Survival can be love. That was a quote of Francine. And someone wrote, shows that despite the harsh circumstances, he grew to understand his father, not just as a parent, but as a human being. Yes. And to paraphrase Robert Frost, if I read a poem once and I know I will never be forgetting it, then and there, it has stood the test of time. Yes, indeed. And Sonia wrote, I also love the use of offices. It makes me think of physically what an office looks like love having many rooms, many functions, an ecosystem. Yes, indeed, indeed. Yeah. The love of the bedroom being very different than the love in the office. And the love that's expressed in the kitchen, a different kind of love. Yeah. Anyone else want to share a thought?
I had a thought. Sorry, I didn't know how to do it. My thought was that it says a lot about the author of the poem being much like the father. I feel like it's almost a reflection of the author of the poet, or the than the father. And I wonder if the offices kind of refer to the modern him being being the father, and that the work that he does now is not the same. But it's not lost on me that even the way that the poem is written feels almost distant and dark. Also, yeah.
Indeed, yeah. Agreed. Anybody else?
I was just going to mention the brilliance of little words that tell us so much, like two in the first line, Sundays two, that tell us
Right.
that every day he's getting up early, and then that ideas again, and polished my good shoes as well. You know, like he's really noticing all the things that his father did. And I just love the repetition in the last two lines. What did I know? What did I know? I mean, that's really, I feel like the heart of the poem is his realizing how little he understood of what was happening then. It's a beautiful poem. I love it.
Yeah, indeed. I also very much like that repetition. And it does kind of say, what did I know? What did I know? It's just, you can hear the sort of the sadness and the regret, and also, you know, the understanding that we don't know. a lot of times, and we only know later in retrospect. So there's a kind of forgiveness for the father and love for the father, and also I think a forgiveness of the self. It's like, what did I know? I didn't know, you know? So I love that kind of forgiveness that runs through the poem, and the understanding, you know, of all of our imperfection, of, you know, the way that we can't necessarily always express love in the way that someone needs it. We do the best we can, and then we can't always understand what another person is doing or express ourselves on the other side, you know. So we're all kind of implicated in the imperfection of this, you know, situation, and it's okay. Yeah. And austerity also, someone is mentioning. Yes, an aspect of Hayden's writing. His own writing has an austere sense to it. I agree. It's very
Michael,
clean and crisp.
Michael says he can't unmute.
Oh, I can't unmute, you said.
Michael says he can't unmute.
Okay.
Okay.
And Ellen wrote, our needs are expectations that aren't always met in the way we imagine. Yes. Yes. And then we think our needs aren't being met, right? But they may be in another way, and we're just not recognizing it yet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, unless someone else wants to pipe in, I think we can move into the prompt and the writing
I
part.
was just going to share that I know I feel like a self-parenting coming through this as well, like a gentle parenting of the self.
Yes.
By acknowledging that it's like what you said, it's okay, and like what did I know? There's a sort of parenting of the self, parenting the self through experiencing the parent, which I find so many of us have to do in order to have a beautiful life. Appreciate that.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's very true. Yeah. And it comes down in a way to compassion. So much of parenting and self-care is about compassion, and care for others is about compassion. And in a way, there's a simplicity to it. You know, the answer is a kind of, okay, compassion and forgiveness. And that goes a long way. Yeah. I see one new message. Let's see. Ooh, parenting the self through the parents, a passion, and someone else wrote, Michael wrote, a passion for compassion. Yeah. It's a good thing to have a passion for. Okay, anybody else want to pipe in? Shall we move to the prompt? Stacy, Bray?
Yeah, I think we can transition into the writing prompt.
Okay, great. So we see in this poem, Robert Hayden remembers Sundays in the winter with his father. So the prompt is this: write a poem describing a simple thing a loved one does around the house to make your life better. Focus, and it could be in the past, it could be in the present, and it could even be something that you imagine that someone does around the house to make your life better. Focus on when they do this. What time of day do they do this? What season? Is it a special day, or is it every week? Is it kind of routine, or is it, an unexpected event? Does focusing on when they do these things for you add to that love? So does the when matter? Does focusing on when they do these things for you add to that love? That's an interesting part of the prompt. So that's going to be in the chat for everyone too, because that was a lot of questions. So there it is.
Speak to the timing.
Yeah, we're gonna set our timer at 10 minutes, and we'll come back, share our poems.
Yes.
right. We're gonna slide back in. And if anybody's interested in sharing what they wrote over these past 10 minutes, feel free to raise a hand. We can call people out. We
Okay.
have a hand up right now, actually. KG Monroe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so in because of the prompt, I decided to do a nice little poem about someone in my own family who they sometimes buy me a bar of organic dark chocolate, and I just appreciate the fact that they, care about me so much. So yeah, this is where this comes from. Love comes in a bar of organic dark chocolate. For no reason, just because he buys me a bar of organic dark chocolate. Such a sweet yet subtle gesture, a gentle assurance that he loves me, or at least cares just a little bit, and I accept it gratefully. This little bar is made from milk, cocoa, sugar, vanilla, and so much thought and care. It tastes better with each bite because it is a symbol of someone's time, someone's memory of what I like, and the respect for my particular taste. If that isn't an expression of love, then I don't know what love is. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh, that is
KG.
very sweet.
So sweet.
Yeah, that's very sweet. And what a wonderful thing to do, to notice something so closely, to notice and to feel. What did you say? With each bite, it tastes better, and the awareness of the time and the awareness of the care. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Wade, would you like to share?
Right. Every morning is new to the cat. When she hears the shift in my breathing, she knows it's time to inspect her bowl to make sure that it's empty. She has done this every day for thousands of days, pushing the bowl along the floor to get the last bits. And then she returns. Hey, she says, get up. You'll never guess what's happening in the kitchen. It's time, she says. Wait until you see, it's nuts. The bowl, you won't believe it. I imagine myself as the center of her world, queen and king of the kitchen, until at last, until tomorrow, she forgets me again, until in all those early hours, my breathing shifts, and she will meet me again with wet nose and purr. You'll never guess what's happening in the kitchen. Crazy.
Thank you. I heard half of it because somehow my audio went. I don't know what happened to my audio. So Stacy or Bryce, if you want to comment, I unfortunately didn't hear the whole thing, but what I heard sounded wonderful.
You want to say something?
Yeah, that was wonderful, Wade. Francine, would you like to share?
Yes. So I call this a kind of a journal memory something. Signs my mother was there. Sometimes she would make a large pot of oatmeal and leave it to simmer on the stove at the lowest gas setting, so it would be hot when her children entered the kitchen, looking around to see if she was home, disappointed she had already left to go to work, finding her presence imprinted in every bite of that porridge that we consumed, smiled and took in her love all the way in after we had added butter, cream, and sugar that could not compete with the message of a mother's nurturance and love for her children, sharing her presence, chasing away the feeling that we were on our own, leaving a message that we are not alone, and more still, we were sharing some of her taste for life. How many messages in that pot, the envelope, the letter, the oatmeal, every gesture, including putting the food in the bowl, reasons to live and enjoy life on our own. but never alone.
Beautiful. I'm putting the phone to my ear now so I can hear closely. That was beautiful. I love the presence, her presence in every bite. Oh, and the idea also of eating love is an interesting, both the chocolate bar and the oatmeal, of really taking it in and recognizing this isn't just food, but this is an expression of someone's love, and I'm going to eat that and not ever, and realize I'm never alone. That's lovely. Thank you. Next, anybody else?
Stacey, you want to share?
Sure thing. And then I thought it might be nice for you to read Elena's poem in the chat, or after Lynette maybe. Alrighty. My best friend's big sister commented on how hairy my legs were when I was in the 6th grade. It had not occurred to me that this was a problem, current, future, or otherwise. But this big sister knew stuff. How to kiss not one, but several boys in that room above the barn. How to break a horse. How to be beautiful. How to get in trouble and not care. I considered the razors carefully that night in the bathroom while I prepared my bath. Without instruction, I shaved my legs to shreds, put on my pajamas, and rejoined my family in the living room. Within minutes, my mother sat beside me and ran her hand up my calf. She whispered for me to follow her. Whispering was important, trust me, as important as being on time or keeping the house spotless. She was sad I shaved so young because it just meant I had to tend to this garden longer than any woman should. She was happy I didn't cut myself to bits. She showed me which razors not to use and promised me my own. She showed me how my hair created an impressive and potentially rage-inducing ring on the tub. We returned to the living room, comrades in secret lady stuff, not in trouble, bonded.
Nice. Thank you. Comrades and secret lady stuff. I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Lynette, would you like to share?
Okay. A Girl Scout camping trip made my lack apparent. I had no hiking boots, no sleeping bag, no mess kit, and my mother no money to buy me such frivolous items likely to be used only once. My best friend, baby in a house of siblings, told me not to worry. She had plenty, extras she could give me, but her mother balked. We can loan you a sleeping bag, she said sternly, not give you one. But then she wrote my friend's name in permanent marker in big block letters on the sleeping bag's bottom, to be sure all the scouts would know how charitable she had been. My mother found me crying over this, and that night came home from waitressing with a surprise for me, a small nylon sleeping bag imprinted with a giant image of then-teen heartthrob John Travolta, its material too thin to keep me warm, its design too ridiculous to spare me shame. But what could I say? Only thank you. Thank you, Mom. I love it.
Aw. that reminds me of, because sometimes the thing we receive, the parent gets us or makes us, it can be like somewhat embarrassing. I remember that feeling. And then, but it's still, yes, it's still an expression of care, indeed. Thank you. Beautiful.
Ellen, do you want to share?
I'm sure. Do you want me to read Elena's first, unless she wants to read it? Where is she? I don't know where she went. I don't see her in the. It's up to you guys if you want me to read Elena's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to read Elaine's poem, then yeah.
I'll do that. I just somebody had mentioned reading hers and that message got kind of lost. So she typed it into chat, and this is Elena Estella Green's poem. It's Adobo. No one, not even myself, could duplicate the adobo my tita made. It always seemed to be missing something rich like hers. She simmered the meat, took plain white rice, and it became a castle with a teacup mold. The juices flowed over the turret, creating a moat of flavor. Never again will I know such a kingdom of love. Yes, I hope I did that justice, Elena. I'll skip mine since I read Elena's.
You should go ahead, Elena.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you for reading it, Sarah. Sarah, that was Sarah, right, who read it? Thank you.
No, I think Ellen has a poem to read. I think, Ellen, you should read your own poem. We've got time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll read my poem. I just didn't want to be greedy. Okay, as the Midwest heat and humidity creeps in, my husband, the doctor, dons a surgical mask he brought home from the hospital and climbs the ladder to our soot-filled attic. He changes the filter in the ancient air conditioning unit he's kept alive with duct tape and wiring. When my brakes crunch, he jacks up the van and lies on the driveway beneath 2 tons of metal. Why can't you take it to a mechanic, I ask. Why can't you hire someone? I'm saving the money for my sons, he says. Every little thing adds up.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. Wonderful. Good poems, people. Anybody else want to share?
Sarah had sent hers through the chat, and I think we're going to read that one. I'll go.
Say again.
Sarah posted a poem in the chat, so we're going to read that one.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead, Patrick. Maybe speak up.
Tuesdays too, my loved one packs up early and puts his clothes into a bag along with his work laptop, sometimes his personal laptop, his climbing shoes, a journal. Then, with patient hands, calls yet another Uber. With nervous legs, sits for terapia de pareja. I wake and hear the gasps and the rasps, snoring. Slowly I rise and peek into the living room, hearing stories about another night of poor sleep on my couch. Together we, or perhaps alone he, who had called an Uber to come to me, who had moved aside to let me sleep in peace, stands and gathers the red blanket, the gray blanket, and the purple comforter, and the white sheet, and the gray sheet, to fold them and stack them neatly on the chair, pillows stuffed into that tall top shelf, long arms wrapping 2 times around my torso, lips brushing my morning cheek. I see love's quiet kindnesses.
That's beautiful.
That's great.
Hey. Wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful. Anyone else?
I think we don't have any more volunteers right now. So perhaps we could close the session and we'll give you some information about next week's Mindful Poetry Moments virtual gathering. And Morley or someone else, we can close out the session with one last reading of those Winter Sundays.
I think we'll give the info first.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so we're gonna have another Mindful Poetry Moments virtual gathering next week. It's gonna be from 3 to 4 p.m. Next week's poem is going to be A Blessing by Samyak Shertok with Tamara Belinda as our mindfulness facilitator, and the poet himself, Samyak, is going to be our poetry facilitator, which will be really exciting. And a week after that, we're going to be opening up submissions for our Mindful Poetry Moments poetry compilation, which will be released in August. So all the poetry that you've been writing this week, if you came for any previous sessions, or if you know anybody planning on writing anything, feel free to send in that poetry. We'll have a workshop at the beginning of May to work on that poem. And yeah, we will follow up with everybody in this session with an email, just kind of going over everything, and we'll send a video of the session as well, which will be up on our YouTube channel. Yeah, with that all being said, I think we'll close out with one last reading.
I love what love's quiet kindnesses. Sundays too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then with cracked hands and ached labor, the weekday weather made, faint fire blaze. Later, bake and hear the cold splintering breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him, who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know? Of love's austere and lonely offices.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Haleh, any words as both our facilitator and our curator before we say goodbye to one another?
Yeah, I was just very touched by all the details and what emerged in the writing in terms of the tenderness and the noticing. I feel like it was a great reminder and lesson, for us all to just notice that the chocolate bar and the oatmeal and the folding the laundry and all of it are expressions of love. It's a good way to roll in this life because it makes one feel held and makes one's heart warm, so I'm really happy about that. This was fun. This was a good, nourishing session. So thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you next week.
Oh, and also I want to say too, the well and these sessions are such an expression of love. So really, I mean, it's a very special experience that we can all come together and it's free and it's open to everyone. It's such a profound expression of love and care. So thank you, team, the well team, the well world team.
Thank you, Haleh.
Yeah.
Well, from the Well team, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Morley. Thank you, Haleh. Thank you, all of you beautiful poets. We can't wait to see you next week and then beyond.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.